Hello. Oh, you wrote down the intro, so I don't really see Yeah, I want to talk about some of my art process involving craft-based art and show some examples from specific mediums, which are listed here. And yeah, so for the last couple of years, I've been working on a project of mine called Asterism, which is a playable interactive music video album with a variety of art styles. So yeah, I've handed out some of the art assets that are in the game, and I'm going to talk about, I think all the ones I've handed out I will talk about in the talk, so you will see them at some point. Yeah, I want to start by just showing you the trailer of the game so that you kind of know what it is. It has, well, we'll see if the audio is on. Yeah, that's the trailer. So let's move on to the rest of the talk. So the question that I get asked a lot is why? Why did you choose this art style? Which kind of threw me off at first, because I was kind of like, well, I don't know, I haven't really thought about it as much as like why this art, more just like that's something that I enjoy making. I enjoy like the process. So I didn't really feel as much of a choice as much as just like what feels natural to me. But actually, this question did then give me the like opportunity to question why, because obviously it's more than just like I enjoy it. There's reasons. So here's a list of what I came up with. Okay, I think the first is just I enjoy it, but I will explain more. So I've always really loved making things. I was always very fascinated by anything playful and interactive. So this is one of the first like claymation videos that I made. And yeah, there's a behind-the-scenes picture just at the top there of me filming it in like my studio, student room, just like on my desk. It was my studio. So yeah, I really enjoy the way that like computers can and like animation can bring life to physical objects and offer new perspectives from a world inside a screen, which was always just really compelling to me. My next reason is that it's quick, with maybe the caveat that it's not always quick, but it can be quick. It kind of depends on the style and the type that you've chosen, the level of like detail and processing that you're using. My approach tends to be to lean into this like collage art style, where you can kind of throw together things fairly quickly, and but within that try to maintain some level of consistency within the methods that I use, which maybe can come across quite similarly, but generally that's what I try to do. And I think this is really important, and it's less kind of about how maybe polished or like good something looks overall, because that's very subjective, but more about like consistency within your own methods. So I think if you experiment and find a process that works for you, then it can be very quick. I also really enjoy this kind of method for prototyping and putting things together really quickly in a kind of pseudo 3D environment. I really enjoy making 3D environments, but I really don't like making 3D art very much in terms of like traditional 3D modeling. It's not. I find it fiddly and difficult. So this is like a solution for me that allows me to still make things in that kind of space. The next reason I have is spontaneity. I really like the constraint of using what's available around me. And like with my main character here, Ruby, where for her I found like a marble that was nearby and used it for her helmet, which kind of completely changed the design I had for her and the I kind of like incorporated that into some of the other like versions of her game as well. I also like to like reuse textures and objects from previous art projects and incorporate them in new ways into the project. My next reason is that the world is beautiful. It's full of amazing objects and textures, just like anything. Like this floor is cool. It's got a cool pattern on it, for example. Just anything you can like take a photo of, and you can put it into your game. So yeah, why not? It kind of makes me look at the world in new ways as well. Like just look at details, which I enjoy. I guess part of the reason that I probably spend a lot of time like looking at details is my background. I think folks mentioned that I'm self-taught in games, but I studied geology at university, so that kind of taught me to look at a lot of details in natural objects and kind of see these structures and variations in patterns and learning to spot similarities on small and large scales, using them to interpret the history of those rocks, and finding the link between ancient patterns preserved in rock and the same patterns being created in the present. And this ties in with my final reason, which is connection. The details that you see in something physical, either crafted by someone or due to natural processes, can give such a direct connection between the viewer and the material and the processes that went into it, which so Asterism is quite like a personal game, and I think that ties in quite well with those themes as well. So now I want to talk a little bit about how it's made, I guess. So let's go into the third dimension. To begin with cardboard. So quite a lot of the materials I use are paper and card, just because they're kind of readily available and easy to work with. So I've got a screenshot from the game, which was in the trailer that I showed you as well, which is like a tunnel of trees. So I will walk you through the process that I went through to make these. And I think, some of these trees are around circulating. So the top here is a photo of the materials and equipment that I used. So there's not much there, it's just like a craft knife, keyboard, pencil, scissors, breadstick. So I guess a property of, talking about like spontaneity earlier, a property of cardboard that I didn't really consider before I started cutting up is that when this particular cardboard was corrugated, which gives this really nice, there's just like a lot of texture and a lot of, depth that a corrugated card has. And that gave me some access to these really nice properties. And variety of textures just from peeling back. Have I got a picture? I think I've got a picture. You can kind of see it. Can I get closer? You can start peeling back the layers, and then you just get you can kind of I've got a better picture in a minute, but you can start to see this cool textures. And I wanted the trees to be covered in snow, so I decided to use paper that's patterned with the lyrics of the song, so it has a bit of texture and variation that I printed out, and then ripped up and stuck on to make it look, snow bitten with some variation going on. Which is actually what's on the floor here as well when I'm walking around. And I made separate pieces so that I can animate them and randomize them a bit, because there's a lot of trees in this environment. So here's my photography setup. I'm not going to go into details about all the brands and things and stuff, but I do have a blog post about the stuff that I'm using, so I can link that in if anyone is interested. But generally, for like photography, I use this phone because it's got a decent camera. And then I have a light box and a tripod, which is kind of like looking through the top. I bought this light box partly because it has like a hole in the ceiling, the top, as well as at the front, which is really useful for some things you need to take pictures of from the front and some from the top. And it's got just like LED strips along the top that you can trigger different lighting. But yeah, I found that generally with a phone camera, that's like pretty decent for like, at least for my needs. As long as you remember to like, if you're taking multiple shots, just like lock the focus, so that otherwise you get like variations in lighting between your frames of animation. Yeah, and I occasionally also use a scanner instead of a camera, if it's like a very flat object. But scanners don't really deal well with depth. They're not very designed for that, so it's only useful for like very actual like paper stuff. But it can give some scanners work too, if you happen to have them. So this is a photo that I took of one of the trees. You can see the kind of like corrugated edges that I was talking about, and you can just get lots of variations from that. And then this is a reminder of this photo, like in the game, of how it looks. And then here's one over here. Yeah, like the actual object. So this talk is in the same project as the game. So which is partly why I did it like this, because then you can just stick the object directly there, and you can see that's how it looks. Yeah, so I can like kind of show you. Yeah, some of the details. In this instance, I've like set it up as a free. It's a 2D image, but it's set up as a 3D mesh, so you can get the shadows as well, which works quite well. Where am I going? This way? Who's first? So, yeah, here's another example of some papery stop motion. Stand on my little spot. Which is, I've got another game which is all kind of origami based. So, there's a zine. I think all of these three things are around somewhere. I'm sure I'll just like, where you can kind of see. It's, this zine one was fun to make like into a stop motion animation. I had these little like sticks at the bottom so that I could like move it and take photos each frame that they're like cropped out later. And then I have another example. So, in Asterism, in each level, the character Ruby is like represented in a different way in this art style. So, in the level with trees, she is like a cardboard frame animation. And so here I drew the frames individually onto cardboard using like chalk for the colour. And then I cut them out physically first so that I'd get, oh, spoilers, okay, well, so that I'd get like some of the detail on the like depth of the outline, just like where you can see, I don't know, like, rather than just like completely cutting out in like Photoshop. And then I scanned it in, photographed it in, and cut it out digitally. And here's the result. It's like editing all the different like various running and skating around animations. Yeah, so that's cardboard. I was going to move on to talk about. I don't know why I'm moving to like go around her. Like, oh, excuse me. So now I want to talk about clay. I think one of the reasons that clay looks really good is the way it responds to lighting. It's got like quite a diffuse texture, but then it just picks up details really well. It just looks nice. And yeah, it has like a really good contrast, so you can, and I guess because you're like modeling it and stuff, you're putting a lot of texture into it, and so you've got like your fingerprints and things like that in it. And it's really fun to work with as well. I don't use that many tools, just occasionally like a knife to cut a sharp edge, or something to imprint a pattern, like in the surf on this wave here. I don't know what I use, but something that, maybe a toothbrush or something, something that would like make lots of little small dots. Yeah, I made this lighthouse as well, and I've got a little time-lapse video of me making that, so you can see. So I think, I don't know how long that took, 12 hours, maybe? And then the editing process, which I think we should show a little bit of. So for this one, it was a little bit more labour intensive than I would have liked, because I didn't do the setup very well. So I'll explain what I did so that you can not do what I did and have an easier time with it if you do this. But well, essentially what I did was I made an object that had a lot of white in it, and then I put it on a white background, and then I took photos of it. So like the green that you can see in the Photoshop window is like me adding a green background, so it's easy for me to like, see where I'm cutting out. But normally what you want is like a colour, like a green, so that's why it can be green screen, so it's like got a lot of contrast and you can just select it all and delete it. But the Magic Wands tool would just like select it away as well. So yeah, I would advise thinking about that in advance of making your objects and photographing it. But you can still do it. And also it kind of depends on like what style you're doing. Like for me, I want these quite like I guess like tight anti-aliased edges to all the images, but you can easily just lean into a style that where you're like lassoed to cutting out everything and you don't mind that there's like a bit of a border, and then it won't matter as much. So it kind of depends very much on the style you're going for. Like I was saying earlier, as long as it's as long as it is consistent, unless your style is inconsistent, and then it's fine. But yeah, just lean into whatever you're doing, I think. Another cool piece of equipment that I have that I will talk about in this section is I have this Bluetooth remote controlled turntable, which allows me to make animations like this spinning little pod. The remote is well, have I got a video? Yeah, so it's like this remote. Pointing here that you can see, and it's Bluetooth to my phone, so that I can like tell my phone to take photos without having to touch my phone. And also, so it's a turntable, and then I can tell it to like, for example, turn 5 degrees, take a photo, turn 5 degrees, take a photo, and then it will just like make this series of turning frames, which are really nice and smooth, and I don't have to like wobble about my phone while I was trying to do anything. So that's great, and I love it. Yeah, that's good. And then I also wanted to mention that I use like these like scrolling textures quite a lot in Asterism, because it adds a lot of motion and movement with very little effort. It's like one tiling image that now it looks like I'm on some marker or something. So you can do that animation without having to animate, which is great. Yeah, so I've just like got a script in these that animates them, and then I use that quite a lot in different places in Asterism. So, for example, if like the character's supposed to be like falling, and I don't want to make a whole environment they're falling down, then I might just put like a scrolling texture behind them, and have it actually still like static, so that it's easy to make and it looks kind of cool. It fits in with the style. And then I think there's a couple of situations where I've got like a rainstorm or a snowstorm or something, and I'll put like a scrolling texture of something in front of the camera, so that it looks like, I mean obviously you can use like particle effects and things, but, which I do in other places, but it's nice to mix things up. But yeah, it saves a lot of time. It's fun. Oh, here's the texture that I'm standing on. Yeah, I mentioned like reusing textures or reusing like things earlier in my talk. I think this texture I made like 15 10, 15 years ago for something. I made a whole bunch of these like kind of spacey textures, and then they come in handy. So yeah, that's cool. Yeah, fabric. Look. I've not used fabric as extensively in Asterism as some of the other mediums that I mentioned. There's no like level specifically dedicated to it, but it's sort of dotted around in the game. For example, like with this version of Ruby, where she's made out like felt and sponge and maybe that, I think like wool and stuff like that. And another place I have used fabric is to make this in the first level that I showed you that was in the trailer of the trees. There's some areas of the floor where I've got this texture going on, which is actually just some gloves. It's like a two-frame animation of some gloves that I've like edited a little bit. And I also have this section where there's like an avalanche forming me that so this video turned into this, and then it became you're skiing down a mountain and there's like an avalanche chasing you. And I wanted it to feel like there's something kind of trying to like grab you, so then I was like, well, if it's trying to grab you, then I might as well just like use my hands to do that. Because it was creepy. So that was pretty good. Another place that I use fabric is like some of the UI as well. So I embroidered the logo. I just like, well, I don't know how you normally draw it. I drew it out and then I sort of pinned it in place, and then there's probably better ways of doing that. But yeah, that's how it ended up. And then I did some of the UI playground buttons. And this is like a slider and like toggles, stars as well. So yeah, you can use anything anywhere. It's fun. Oh, and lastly, I made like a costume version of Ruby. It's like a cosplay of the character, I guess, and like a little crochet version, which is somewhere in the audience as well, for one of the levels of the game. So this level that this is for uses quite a lot of video in general, which was like definitely like one of the most fun levels to make, but also the most challenging, because I don't know, filming is hard, I guess, and I'm not, I don't have a huge amount of experience in it, but yeah, it's like interesting to do, and it kind of this brings me quite nicely into like the final section, which is about green screens and some of the ways that I've used them in the game. So I'm going to begin by playing this video. Is it going to play? I have to stand in a specific place. I have to get inside the slider. Where is it? There it is. So this is a bit of a weird video, but it's like part of that same level, and it's like part of the costume. And I filmed some videos like this because I was like interested to see what you can green screen something with like a green screen behind it, or if you like green screen yourself. So I thought it's like a blue screen, I guess. But what was that? Okay, so it's this bit. So this is how that looks inside that level. The video's a bit laggy, but like you can see all the blue bits being replaced by a camera that's like viewing another part of the scene. There's quite a lot of camera stuff going on with this. But this is like a developer's view of what's going on here, where I've got there's a part of the scene that you're kind of walking through that the camera's viewing, and then that's rendering inside the green screen section of this video. Yeah, we're doing that quite well. And then there's also a photo of my hands like holding the screen as well. And oh yeah, and then lastly, I wanted to show you that you can just green screen anything. So I green screen my lips. And I bought this like, it's a eyeliner, a liquid eyeliner, and then also just some like eyeshadow, and that seems to like get like consistent. So yeah, pro tip if you want to green screen your lips. liquid eyeliner plus green eyeshadow. However, liquid eyeliner is really hard to get off your lips. But then you can make I have like a sequence in that level where I'm like lip syncing some of the lyrics. And with like a weird texture. Yeah, and that's all the examples I have to show. I mentioned I had the longest yeah, I have a blog with some, oh, here's my station, with some various bits and pieces. I think I have one on like green screens and various other like art bits and pieces. I don't want to take yeah, that's, yeah. Anyone have any questions? I'd be happy to.
So I saw that you got the turntable set up and the light box and stuff, but that you're, I guess, mostly capturing like 2D images and kind of cropping that out. I wonder if you looked at like photogrammetry and like generating 3D models and materials and just what you thought of that.
Yeah, I have for like other projects. I haven't done it for this, but I definitely have like experimented with it a little bit. I think with photogrammetry, I guess like one issue is it makes like these huge, really big meshes, just because it needs like to capture, and it needs like get it in quite like high, what's the word, like high definition or whatever. And I think it's, I don't know, it's something I've not looked into enough to know if I could like do it in a way that I feel like would be like fast enough for me to not get like frustrated with. And I think I quite like the aesthetic of like this 2D stuff that's in a 3D environment, I think. But yeah, it's not really something that I looked into specifically for Asterism. But I wouldn't rule it out. Before it's not saying questions. But yeah. Hey.
I've been, well, like I have tons of questions to ask about this, but I guess one in particular that's fascinated is like the multidisciplinarity of things, of like studying geology and then, well, using crafts and game development. Are there like any other disciplines that you feel have had an impact on your game development career?
Like things from like the past or things I've learned like
yeah, from the past, like geology and generally like exploring.
That's a good question. I guess just like going outside and looking at things, like I don't know, like that's good, just like running around outside and things. I mean that's always good to that's not it's not very disciplined, it's just what else? Yeah, I mean, so I've done like the music for the game as well, but that's something I've like learned more probably how to do recently, but it's definitely something that I like when I was a teenager. I like would play guitar and like try and write music and things. I think that's like part of the reason I made this game was to try and get better at that process. So yeah, I don't know. That's a difficult one to. I'll probably like think of those stuff afterwards and then like see it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's such an incredible concept, and I was wondering, like, when you're kind of going through your fabrics and your different materials and mediums that you use, is there any kind of, like, when you're making the webs themselves, is there almost like a symbolism that you kind of like sometimes think of when you use each type of medium that you kind of want to inherit within a certain level, and there's like a process to that?
Yeah, definitely. When I was like first planning the game out, I had like a mood board. So I knew what all the songs were by that point, at least as like a draft version, and kind of what I wanted the narrative to be. And then I was like trying to like think what art style would fit each one. And I guess like the first few levels in the game are much more like this kind of like handcrafted, I guess like more like grounded type of materials. Because I wanted to sort of like start off feeling more I don't know, like closer to home, and then like later on it gets like into the more like digitally mixed kind of stuff and more abstract in some ways. And I guess even just like there's a level later on which is all like chalkboards with chalk. So it's all like black and white, and it feels like very sketchy, and that's like one of the like standard songs, I guess. So I kind of wanted to like match that up with the visuals in that way. Yeah, so definitely like there's definitely properties of the art that kind of goes into like the feeling of the level.
So this is a bit more of a technical question, but with the clay and with the repeating animations, I was wondering how you got the textures to be seamless, because when I was repeating it didn't seem to have a clear edge.
Yeah, I can use my cool function I added where I can zoom them back. There it is. Like this one.
Yeah.
I did some photoshopping with, I'm trying to remember the names of the buttons. Like the balloon stamp and the like, just like, you know, those tools are all in that area. Yeah, I guess I've tried to use things online that do it automatically, and I haven't ever been happy with how they come out. So yeah, I mean, I spent a while doing that and trying to like, you can like offset in like Photoshop and then kind of try and just make it look. Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any like bits where you can kind of see. Okay, so like at the bottom, you can kind of see it's a bit blurry there, so you can like see a bit of a process of like where I can do as well as like some of the areas. So it's just a very manual thing of that. Also, I guess if you can, then just trying to think about that in advance of making it and trying to think, well, I know that like I want this to line up, so if I have something going on at this angle here, it's got to like come in at this angle. So a mixture of like try and make it easy for yourself in advance and then do some editing. Yeah.
Here's the last question.
Do you have any tips for juggling a lot of different skills? Because from the sounds of it, you have so many like skills in a lot of different things.
Tips in terms of like time management or like.
I suppose for myself, it's quite overwhelming when I'm thinking, oh, I haven't done art in a month.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so bad at it now.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, I definitely have that too. Like, so I'm like reworking some of the music at the moment, and before that, I hadn't looked at it in like a year or something, and now I've come back to it and I'm like, oh, I really should have like done this sooner. But I think generally on this project, I've tried to do it like level by level, rather than like I'm doing the art now and then I'm doing the music now. Which does kind of naturally like mix it up a bit. That's not really a tip though. I guess doing it that way as well means that you don't have the problem of like you've done all the art and then you have to like add something later, but then you've like, because time has passed, your skills have either like improved or got worse, and so then it looks different. So I think if you like try and interweave things a bit, then maybe that's good. And it also kind of breaks up the day a bit as well, because then you don't just. I find if I'm doing the same thing for like a few weeks on end, then I get a bit fatigued with it. So I think just trying to mix it up. Maybe.
Cool. Yeah.